Hi, this is Mahesh Menon.
Hi, I'm Smriti Khanna.
Welcome to another episode of our podcast, Living Well. So, today we have with us one of the lions of palliative care. I mean, the lion of palliative care in India. This is Dr. Nagesh Simha. Anyone in the Indian palliative care scene and abroad would know him, and we have very fond, attachments because we've worked on numerous occasions in terms of the purpose of education and training in palliative care.
Thank you so much for coming onto our podcast.
My pleasure and privilege.
Sir is the director of Karunashraya the hospice.
I'm the medical director.
medical
I
director.
head the medical functions.
So I think that to begin with, I just want to ask you about Karunashraya because ever since I have seen the place, I have been awestruck. It is a beautiful campus. It's an award-winning campus. It's green everywhere. It's such a serene, wonderful environment, and on top of that, of course, it provides the best medical care that patients in a hospice can receive. Can you tell us a little bit about how Karunashraya came to be?
Question that I love to answer because it's very dear to my heart. I joined Rotary Club of Bangalore, Indiranagar, in 1983. One of the points of the 4-point object of Rotary is development of acquaintance as an opportunity to serve. Sometime, I think in 1986, a Rotarian friend of mine called me up and said that his senior and his senior's friend had started the Indian Cancer Society in Karnataka, and they were interested in trying to find out what are the activities that they could do. And I asked my friend, why me? Why are you calling me? He said, no, you generally seem to have some ideas. I said, all right. So we met one Sunday morning at about 12 o'clock and over a glass of beer. So I always say that Karunashraya started with a glass of beer. And during my conversation, I suggested to them a few of the activities that they could do, cancer detection centers, so on and so forth. I then supported their cancer detection camps when I became president of my Rotary Club way back in 1989. As the time passed by, one of those two gentlemen, Kishore Rao, he had this bee in his bonnet that he wanted to establish a cancer hospice. The reason being that he had been on the governing council of the Kidwai Memorial, which is the regional cancer hospital.
Yes.
And he had an occasion to see a very forlorn man sitting in the hot sun, not knowing what to do. And when he went and talked to him, he said that I've been discharged, I don't know where to go. And they have said that they can't do anything more for my illness. So anyway, he kept talking, and one fine day, I walk into the flight from Bombay to Bengaluru, and I find Kishore sitting next to me. We didn't even, I didn't even know that he was on the flight. And right through the hour and 15 minutes of the flight, he kept talking to me. So first of all, I asked him, what is a hospice? And then, of course, he explained to me. And I kept saying, wonderful, wonderful, it's a great idea. We should do that. Fast forward to 1993, in Rotary, the president changes every year. And so the president at that time, my very dear friend, Gurmeet Randhawa, who's our managing trustee now, he kept telling me that, he says, Doc, we need to do a permanent project involving all members of the club. And so I said, Gurmeet wants our Rotary Club to do something permanent. Kishore has been literally chewing my brains about setting up a hospice. And I said, why not the two organizations get together? So I spoke to both of them, and I said that since I'm on the committee of Cancer Society as well as a past president of Rotary, that I would not be, very keen on being part of the negotiations or whatever. And the two of them met and then decided that we will establish a separate trust, the Bangalore Hospice Trust, with 5 trustees each from Rotary and Indian Cancer Society. And so October 26, 1994, the Bangalore Hospice Trust was born.
1994.
Yes, and to use the cliche, the rest is history.
The rest is history.
No, it is. In fact,
Ah,
amazing. So I was just thinking that
30 years ago.
Yeah, glass of beer, a flight travel, and how
Ah.
things fall in place.
Yeah.
So it's like you can see serendipity again unfolding, and it's beautiful.
I'd like to, since you mentioned the word serendipity, our dear friend Roop Goswami.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
here and he mentioned
I
that as
know,
well.
but you know what? We have a fundamental disagreement.
Huh.
He says serendipity, I say that it's the universe.
Okay.
Okay, it's a politically correct word for using the word God. And now we are very dear friends, and we have agreed to disagree on this very minor point.
So the universe brought you together, and
Yes,
yeah,
amazing,
amazing.
amazing.
So, coming back to the question that you asked Kishore Rao, what is a hospice?
Yes, he did explain to me, and in fact, after that, very soon we went to Singapore to attend the first Asian Hospice conference. So there's a slight difference between the definition of a hospice in India and in the UK, where we normally follow that, and the US. In India or in the UK, a hospice is basically a structure, a building, a place where you look after or offer palliative care. While in the US, hospice is a service.
Yes.
So if somebody in America were to say that this person is on hospice care, it could be anything. Now, of course, if you look at in India too, you could have a home hospice, you could have part of a hospital.
Yes.
So it's kind of now become synonymous with a place where a person gets palliative.
So who can access? So there'll be some listeners who wouldn't know what a hospice. Who should be going to a hospice?
Well, first of all, it all depends upon what type of a hospice it is. Karunashraya is a cancer hospice.
Okay.
So we admit persons who have advanced cancer, not necessarily terminal, where all modalities of treatment have been tried, or they are not able to do it because the disease is already advanced, or sometimes, unfortunately, they are not able to afford it. Such people can get hospice care. Now, it's not necessary that it has to be inpatient care. Okay, I'd probably give you a little more details about what are the things that we do, but certainly that's when palliative care actually begins. The bottom line is that if one needs to get looked after by us, then it would imply that the person has got basically incurable cancer.
So this can be extended to any chronic disease where there is no cure in sight, and
Absolutely,
hospice can apply for.
absolutely, absolutely. Or palliative care, of course, can apply to everybody.
Absolutely.
And this word hospice, or you spoke about seeing how hospices work in Singapore, in the US, in the UK, in the Indian context. Especially now that you have been in this field for 30 years, what is your understanding of how an Indian hospice is?
Well, Smriti, over the last 30 years, we were probably one of the very first standalone cancer hospices. What should a hospice be? Finally, some of the big charitable hospitals, some of them approached us and we suggested how they should go about it. But then the management or the trustees of those hospitals were not very keen to have a palliative care, wing or whatever, because obviously there will be a lot of death.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they felt that the reputation of the hospital would go down. And so they were just not willing to do that. Standalone hospices, in a way, are good, but in a way are not so good because of the fact that many times we may need to take help of either investigations like ultrasound, X-ray, or whatever, or we may need to take advice from our friends of different specialities. In a standalone hospice, that is not accessible. But if you have a palliative care service incorporated in a hospital, like where you're working, that would be much better.
Yeah.
And of course, there are lots of problems. A lot of people are very gung ho. They want to say, "Oh, we want to start a palliative care center," and they come for advice, and then invariably, I might sound rude to them, but I kind of become a wet blanket, and I tell them that, look, it's all great. You can find money to, to build the infrastructure, etc. But it is extremely difficult to get professionals to work in a palliative care center.
In a standalone
In a
or
standalone,
any.
or for that matter, in palliative care. If it is a part of a hospital, then perhaps it might be
It makes it a
slightly
little
easier.
easier.
And an NGO, where we are not able to compete with the commercial establishments in terms of emoluments, etc. And so it's a continuous challenge.
So I think what you are trying to say is that while the traditional definition of a hospice has been one institution that provides care that is like a hospital but not completely all the services involving a hospital, nowadays that definition is changing. And so
Yes.
you can provide that kind of care in the house,
Yes.
you can provide that kind of care in a few beds or in a wing of a hospital, or you can just have a
Absolutely.
standalone center.
Indeed.
And we also have come to know now that Karunashraya is expanding, spreading its wings.
Yes. So before I tell you about where we have expanded, I'd like to very briefly tell you a couple of things about Karunashraya. Is that we began home care in 1995 with the idea that we need to learn about palliative care because we were very raw. Number two, those people who gave us money, by the time we got the land and constructed the building, they'd be wondering, what are these guys doing? And we also needed to establish a rapport with the community in Bengaluru. So we started home care. We hired an auto, and before that, we knew that we would get land, money to build, and all that. But the biggest thing was who's going to do the nursing. So Shanti Avedana, which is the first hospice, in India, in Mumbai, the nursing was being looked after by a group of Roman Catholic nuns, the Sisters of the Holy Cross. So we approached the Bangalore order. Initially, they were not very sure, but then when we went back to them, they said the universe decided, or serendipity, if you want to say that they, in their council or chapter, as they call it, said that they wanted to get into to looking after dying, and then here we were. Okay, so the Holy Cross sisters agreed to give us a few nuns who were nurses, but they gave us one sister, a nurse also, Sister Rosemary. With her, a very senior counselor by the name of Usha Shinde, and then we hired an auto. That's another story. But there's this guy called Somshekhar Chari, who, typical auto rickshaw driver. Somebody said, work every day, we'll give you a fixed amount. He was very happy. So we started home care in 1995. And then we got the land from the government of Karnataka. We constructed initially 55 beds. And that's how we began. And all the services that we render in Bengaluru and in Bhubaneswar, where we have now another one, is totally free of cost. We do not charge a single paisa for that.
That's amazing. For 30 years, this
yes,
has
for
been
30
going
years.
on.
So now we have opened, started a much bigger palliative care center in Bhubaneswar. And here again, if something has to happen, the universe will make it happen.
Serendipity.
It's serendipity. I'm happy to use that word too. Although it's not as strong as universe. So what happened was that, and I must mention this wonderful couple, Subroto and Sushmita Bakshi. So Subroto was one of the co-founders of a software company called Mindtree, and that got it was taken over by another large company, and so all the co-founders were left with a large amount of money. Subroto had retired from corporate life and had gone to Bhubaneswar, that was his home state, and had become an honorary advisor to the chief minister and his area was skill development. So he had this urge to establish a good cancer hospital and a good palliative care center in Bhubaneswar. And he approached us. Initially, we were very diffident because, raised lots of money for Bangalore, now raised for this. And in a very subtle way, uh, I don't mind even saying this on record, it was kind of a bit of an emotional blackmail,
Mm.
in the sense that, he looked at me and he thought that, this guy and a few others are not terribly hot about it. So he looked at me and he says, so you're satisfied with Bangalore? You don't want to do anything more? Is this your last hurrah?
Oh.
And I don't know, probably some guy, somebody up there pushing us in a particular direction. So we kind of agreed. The government of Odisha gave us 20 acres of land,
Wow.
90-year lease, free, practically 1 rupee a year. And we have constructed a 110-bed facility
Fantastic.
with a huge 500-seater auditorium and a lot of other stuff. And we started taking patients from almost 10, 11 months back. And I'm happy that things have picked up well. And currently, we are averaging about 35 to 40 admissions a month.
Wonderful.
And we hope to increase that over a period of time because we've got so many beds.
Beds. In fact, just to recap whatever we've been discussing, you deal with one of the most uncomfortable realities of medicine is the fact that we are mortal, and this is conveniently neglected by mainstream medicine. But the truth is that people who are not well, people who are dying, also need good care. That's where palliative care comes in, because it's actually good medicine continuing all the time. And we keep saying that all about it. You've overcome a lot of challenges, I'm sure. One of the challenges that you mentioned, of course, was the lack of trained people, the human resource element. What have been the other challenges that you have faced in this journey of working with people like this?
I think, Mahesh, one of the the first things is that a person, whoever works in a palliative care center, has to have a particular attitude, and that sometimes can be wanting. But let me also hasten to add, the universe sends people to palliative care centers who either have that attitude or develop the attitude very quickly. When we have people coming in, let's say from a hospital background, initial few days maybe, they'll always look at what can we do and all that stuff. But then over a period of time, I think they get kind of mellowed down. So that is one of the challenges that happens. And then, of course, the raising of resources, because we are obviously, we are free. Uh, in the beginning, when we decided to make it free, a lot of people advised us that you could have, a model where some pay, some free.
Yeah.
We did not want to do that. Maybe we were kind of foolish in a way. But the thing is that who are we to decide that the person cannot afford? Even middle class people, by the time they reach, that stage of palliative care,
Yeah.
they tend to be broke. That's number one.
Hmm.
Number two, if you have paying and non-paying patients, the guy who pays thinks I'm paying and therefore I'm entitled to certain things more. And the person who's not paying may have a feeling and saying they're looking after that person better
Hmm.
because he's paying and I'm not paying. And finally, it makes a hell of a lot of sense if you make it free, because if you are free, more people are willing to donate.
That's true.
Beautiful.
That is true.
So
And
just
so we
Yeah.
found that.
Yeah.
So just add to this. So while you're dealing with this, the reality of life, and you're helping people over the last more than 3 decades now,
Yeah.
and you're providing it for free in a city like Bangalore, and of course you face these challenges and about people donating. What has your observation been, maybe say 3 decades ago and today? Are more people into it with this kind of more awareness going out there? Do you feel that there has been a shift in the people willing to add to the cause?
Yes, care of the dying is a very emotive cause. And so those people who donated and who are donating now, obviously we have built up a very good reputation over 3 decades, more than 25 years of inpatient care. Uh, Secondly, there have been far more, software companies and other companies who have come to Bangalore, so the donor pool is larger. The second thing is, or the third thing is that the corporate social responsibility, the CSR, which the government of India has made, where you've got to give a part of your profit, that in a way also has helped us.
Helped.
And therefore, that's one aspect of the monetary aspect of it, of getting funds. But more and more people are aware of what is palliative care, and it's not that it's fantastic and everybody and his uncle knows about palliative care, but certainly it's much better than what it was when we started. But I'm very sad to say that the attitude of our fellow medical professionals continues to be pathetic.
It's very just sad to say it continues to be pathetic. Asha. So while we'll talk
With no
about
offense meant to my fellow professionals.
so if everybody and their uncle can't donate monetarily, is there something else that they can do to offer their services? If there's someone who's listening in Bangalore, is there something else? Do you have a system of volunteers, or what other
Not
services can
necessarily in
be,
Bangalore,
or
anywhere.
anywhere exactly? How can they add to the cause?
Yes. So it's not only money that is important, it's creating awareness that people can kind of help. Uh, Medical professionals, particularly general practitioners, etc., if they understand what palliative care is, how good it is for their people, to, because normally any family would first approach their family doctors, or to call
Yeah.
it general practitioner. And so if the general practitioner is aware, then he will support that decision and say you can go ahead. The second thing is, in terms of volunteering, of course, you know volunteers do play an important role. uh, Unfortunately, the volunteers that we do get and have are basically short term activity.
Yeah.
There are people, for example, in the UK, and I don't want to compare the UK, but if somebody volunteers, that person would say, okay, I'll go and sit in the front desk once a week. And that person will go once a week without
For a
fail.
very long time.
And, they will not feel that, I'm not being paid. So if suddenly, they will not call and say, I'm not able to come for something, right? That's one. We did use volunteer counselors. We did use volunteer front office, people sitting down. But it kind of fell flat after some time because they would not come. There was no consistency in the message that was being delivered to the public. So we have a public relations department in Karunashraya, both in um, Bengaluru and in Bhubaneswar. It's called the Bakshi Karunashraya Palliative Care Center. We have public relations people, and those who would like to volunteer, they are most welcome to get in touch. And we might need a particular activity. There may be some program that is happening, and we might need something, or it could be something to do with technical stuff, or it could be uh, checking the records and doing something. So all kinds of things can happen.
Yeah, so just putting that out there for the universe so that
Yeah.
it can listen.
Yeah, that's true. Serendipity.
Your serendipity, our universe. Have you been to Karunashraya Bakshi Karunashraya?
Not to
No, not
Karunashraya
yet.
Bakshi, but I've been to the Bangalore
Oh, that's
Yeah.
campus
Yes.
quite often. Yes.
many times, and it has been beautiful. Um, can you tell us about just a regular day at the
At work.
Yes, no, or just a regular day at the hospice?
Yeah.
How
so,
is it like?
So that's a better question, because it's I don't go there every day, and
Uh-huh.
I'm like the chief of army staff sitting in his cabin with
Correct.
the flags and air conditioned room and all that. So first of all, in Karunashraya in Bengaluru, for example, we really don't have any visiting hours, but we generally do not like to have visitors coming in during the morning dressing time and the afternoon dressing time. We have nurses. They all live in the campus
On
itself.
campus.
On the campus itself. I don't. Maybe one or two may be coming from outside, and they will start off in the morning to look at the patient, check vitals. Usually, those who can be given a bath or whatever, so that cleaning up and the rest of the stuff happens in the morning, the nurses have to go around and check, whether they pass through, they have done this, all that happens. The doctors come in the morning and they start their rounds around about 9 o'clock. We've got standard forms for everything. Documentation is absolutely perfect. And then we have counselors, trained psychologists. They're allocated 1 ward or 2 wards depending upon the situation. And the counselors join the doctors for the round. And if there's anything particular that the night staff may have observed or something of that sort. And then, of course, the counselors will sit and talk to the patients, will talk to the family members. Then, of course, the doctors will go back to their rooms, and a lot of the family members will be waiting to find out, how the person is and all that stuff. And so this kind of goes on. So it's not just the medical care; it's psychological care, well supervised psychological care by a well trained psycho-oncologist. And also, very interestingly, we have physiotherapists. When my colleague who was medical superintendent many years ago, Sadanand Gopal, he asked me, he says, Nagesh, how about physiotherapists? I told him, Sada, come on, 15 days, 20 days, what are you going to do with physiotherapists? But again, I will call this a serendipity. I went off for a holiday to the US, and somebody volunteered, for a nominal amount to come and, to do the physiotherapy part of it. And that began. And then now I realize, oh my God, it does make a difference. So physiotherapists have been able to bring in a lot of joy, if I might say, to the patients.
Why is that?
They're able to, they're able to get up. They're able to, what they could not do, they could walk. They're able to do things which they would have liked to do but could not do with some sort of a support. So I'm really delighted with the work that our physiotherapists have been doing. Yes.
Speech and swallowing.
He's being modest still. I know more about what goes on in a regular day.
Yeah, I mean, so
because there are these beautiful small water bodies that are there in and around the hospice, and even very close to the wards. Just like a few steps from the wards. And so the patients who can be wheeled out, or even if the hospital bed can be wheeled out, they are wheeled out into the angan, into
open
the
area.
Courtyard.
Correct.
So that you can see some amount of water, some amount of trees.
So it doesn't feel like a hospital.
It doesn't feel like
It doesn't
feel like a medical center at all.
Yeah, I think I'll talk to her. We'll just interview her about the hospice and the facilities. So please continue.
It's kind of
please tell us
embarrassing, but
more.
doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
it's okay. No, it's like, and I think the other thing we must keep saying is that after every few sentences we must say, and all of this is for free. So please go ahead. Actually, I'd like to.
No, so that is one thing. I found that beautiful, that you can. I think that water has such a soothing effect on the mind, right? I really sometimes I struggle to understand where that comes from.
It's
Maybe it's just
it's
neuroscience. My husband will tell me
yes
at some point, but just seeing that an expanse of water makes it nice. There will be birds chirping, there will be trees. They make some 7-8 types of pickles from all the fruits within the trees inside Karunashraya. So you can imagine the amount of fruits that there will be, jackfruits and the small berries and all of them. The other thing that I found very striking is the amount of is the openness that it gives.
Yes.
Either I think that there are some like some of the roofs have slats, so there is light falling in.
Yes.
The courtyard is half open, half closed. So you have that sense. There is even in the sense of the space between the beds, having a half wall instead of a full wall.
Yes.
To divide the space within the ward. All of this, I think, makes a one. This is why I think they have won an architecture award, right, for their campus.
The main building that was constructed in 1999 won the award, the Best Architect Award. The same architects won the award for our training block, the Bakchi Palliative Care, the Research and Training Center. And I am fairly certain that they will win it again for the Odisha, the Bhubaneswar project.
Lovely. Wishing them all the best, because the first instinct that I had when I walked into the hospice was that it didn't feel like a place where there was only medical care. I just could feel care
Yes.
is all around there. You just look at this place. It's you don't see high rises. You see
Yeah.
openness,
Yes.
and it's very reassuring to someone who's dealing with a very prolonged illness or who's dealing with a serious illness. Uh, do relatives get to live on site, or
Well,
the
we
patients?
have in Bhubaneswar, of course, it's a different story altogether. We've got much more land, so we've got good dormitory facilities for people who family members. But what we've even in Bangalore we do have. What we've noticed is that many of our patients, they all come. They live in the greater metropolitan area of Bengaluru, and if the relatives also are expected to stay, then they will lose their daily
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
living, right? And many of them come, stay for a while, and go away. And if somebody needs to be there, we do allow them to stay.
Do you have any inspiring anecdotes or anything that you've? I'm sure you will have a million of them, but anything you want to share with us?
Uh, yes, but then one of the things that we have paid a lot of attention to is what I would call as spiritual care. Okay, and a lot of people are under the mistaken notion that spiritual care, is necessarily religion or puja or whatever it is, which is not really so. And I'll give you a couple of instances where we felt that we were able to kind of help. There was this lady who, for some reason, you know, married, two children, decided to dump her husband and two children and ran away with somebody else. And many years later, she landed up, with an advanced cancer, and admitted with us. Sadly, her second husband, knowing that she has got cancer, kind of left her. And so this lady was in severe existential distress and kept saying that, I did a grave sin or whatever to have left my children and my husband, and I am dying to know about how my children are.
How they are?
And so the counselors were, just lost and say, come on, the only thing that she could say was that her first husband was a lawyer, and she heard that he had moved to Delhi. So as the counselors were generally talking what to do, etc., one of the regular volunteers, he came in and he knows all the counselors well. And he asked, hey, what's wrong with you people? You're looking so down. So when they recounted the whole thing, he said, what? My nephew is a lawyer in Delhi. Okay, so let me see what I can do. So he called up the nephew. The nephew, a smart guy, went to the bar council and, did some little thing there and found out that this gentleman, her husband, had passed away. But one of the sons was in Delhi as a lawyer. He managed to get the son's telephone number, mobile number.
Wow.
So they were discussing what to do, and it's very difficult. But then finally, this lady was so desperate, they called up the son and they told him that this is what it is. So the son was shocked and then said, my father told us that our mother had died, naturally. Then, with great reluctance, they asked him, would it be possible for you to come to Bangalore, to see your mother? He said no. And then he said, the maximum I can do is I can talk to her for a minute. So the counselors gave the phone to her. Of course, they were not present. They closed the curtain. And apparently, the mother and son had a whatever conversation. And she subsequently kind of died peacefully. And probably one more thing that I would probably like to say is that there was this lady, father Hindu, mother Christian. Mother continued to follow Christianity. The daughter went one day to the church and she kind of had an epiphany. She continued to go to the same church, and then she landed up with us. And then she said she was very distressed and said that, I haven't been baptized, and therefore Jesus Christ will not accept me. So one of the doctors who was working with us at that time was also studying to be a priest, Church of England. So he told us that, look, sir, I can quote the Bible. There's no such thing. So we said, all right, you sit with her. And then she said no. She was very distressed. So then we took a decision and said, okay, we'll arrange for baptism. So there were a couple of things. First of all, we need a priest to do that. So we asked the priest of the church where she was going. That priest said that they do it only once a month. So the next day would be probably she won't be there. Then they asked another priest of another denomination, which I don't want to quote, and he believed very greatly in brand loyalty. He says that I don't do this for people of other things. So finally, this doctor's parish priest agreed. Then one more issue came up. There are two types of thing where you can either do it by baptism by sprinkling water or baptism by immersion. And she wanted it by immersion.
Wow.
So we found, a shallow thing, over there, and two security guards, a physiotherapist, and everybody else got into that shallow water, put her in a stretcher, and dunked her 3 times, and
Wow.
and she died very peacefully.
So that the amount of effort that's
That's a
been
lot of
taken
And
for
of
that
course,
person.
lots of things, celebrating wedding anniversaries or daughter's marriage. She may not live. Either you have the marriage or at least have an engagement ceremony, and so we facilitate that. We facilitate wedding anniversaries. Oh, I can go on and give you hundreds of examples.
But
And all of this for free, taking care of the person completely, like
It is.
inspiring.
It is, yeah. So my next question is a little bit personal. Not many, I don't know how many people know this, but about you, but you have had 3 kidney transplants. And so this means that over the course of many years, you have also endured chronic illness. How has your experience of how chronic illness is, how has it affected, your entire journey with Karunashraya?
A lot of people know about it, and finally, there are a lot of people who have heard my story more than once, and I'm very happy to recount it, but they get distressed listening to it. They say, "Oh no, I don't want to listen to it." I said, "It doesn't matter. I'm still around." So I got involved in setting up Karunashraya when I was absolutely fit and fine, and I decided to qualify in palliative medicine because I thought, basically being a surgeon,
ENT, you're a
general surgeon,
you're a general surgeon.
bit of oncology work, but anyway. And so I must learn about it. So that all happened before. I did a routine dipstick test on my urine some years earlier, and I noticed that I had proteinuria. So I knew that the fuse is lit. Okay, but then you're in denial. Okay, and all that stuff. Anyway, I landed up with chronic renal failure, and they did a preemptive transplant. My wife donated, and sadly the graft got thrombosed, which is basically a technical error. It's not an immunological. So my wife was the donor, and 8 days later, in spite of having a full flank incision and whatever, she gave me anesthesia when they explored that kidney, and she saw her kidney being literally removed and thrown into the dustbin via the pathology department. Then I had 6 months of dialysis. I had a second transplant where I had multiple subclinical rejection reactions, and there was a major leak from that second transplant. So they opened me up 3 times in 7 days, and I needed blood, so I used to text my friend Gurmeet, managing trustee, and 3 of my Rotary friends would come and donate. I call them my blood relatives. And their very bottle of blood was kept for 24 hours and given to me. So all of them claim that I'm a much better person because of the blood that came inside. So anyway, the leak stopped, and then a little while later, I had severe pain while walking, so I had avascular necrosis. They tried co-decompression, that is, drilling multiple holes. 45-minute surgery, 6 weeks non-weight bearing, not together, on both sides separately, didn't work. So they did a bilateral hip replacement. There's humor in everything, Mahesh and Smriti. So there was one of our mentors, Dr. Srinivasan, very well-known orthopedic surgeon. He said, "Okay, we'll do that." He said, "There's a friend of mine who's coming from Italy. He's a very good." They were planning surface replacement to avoid having the full joint. But anyway, so he has agreed to do your case in the morning, and he'll do the demonstration in the afternoon. So I asked him, I said, "Sir, that Italian surgeon, what is his name?" Dr. Srinivasan said, "Marega." Then he looked at me and he said, of course, he studied in Delhi, so he knows Hindi, of course, very well. He said, no, his surname is Marega. Luca Marega. Go in Google. So I said, oh, Marega mein jiyega. So I had bilateral hip replacement. And then, of course, the second transplant over a period of 5 years deteriorated, and then I had to go for a third transplant. And my nephrologist, my very dear friend, brilliant nephrologist, Dr. Sudarshan Balal, he, very proper, he explained to me things and said, you can go on for dialysis forever, but I somehow feel that the third transplant will work. So I told him, I said, Sudarshan, you know what? I've got so used to the comfort of a transplant that if for some reason you insist that I should undergo dialysis, I'd rather jump into the ulcer lake. Okay, obviously in a humorous way. And he also, in his own humorous way, responded by saying, Nagesh, I don't think it's a great idea because there isn't much water there. First of all, you won't drown. And the water is so filthy, you'll get severe diarrhea. And we laughed. But the sad part of it was that the transplant nurse, who I have known her as a student nurse, right? When I walked out of the room, she came and held my hand and almost started crying. Sir, I hope you're not trying to do that. I said, oh my God, it's not so. Anyway, the third transplant worked very well. And it's at that time that everybody said that it was not a great idea for me to continue to practice surgery. And by that time, I had lost the zing. And, I said, no, enough is enough. I could afford to do that. My wife was earning well. And so I got into things. So at this point of time, I must acknowledge, everybody in the family, no doubt, my friends, etc. But my wife has been playing a very, very, very important role in my life. She was my first donor. She's given me anesthesia multiple times. When they closed the leak, there was torrential bleeding. She didn't flap. And somebody said, you're giving anesthesia to your husband? So her answer is, yeah, he's my husband, So she, at a very young age, she was about 12 or 13, she, we are Vaishnavites from South India, so she underwent a ceremony with her guru, where it's called bharanyasa, not sannyasa, where you give up everything. It's you kind of hand over whatever it is to the Lord, and you do whatever is required to be done. So at no point of time did she ever do conditional worship. In Vaishnavism, philosophically, there's no conditional worship. Like there's no Karwa Chauth and all those vrats and all that stuff. But because my friends wanted us to do certain things, she agreed. There was a Mrityunjaya Homa that was there before I fell sick. I went to Velankani with another very devout Hindu friend of mine who believes in, infant Jesus. He told me, he says, Doc, third transplant, let's pay up our dues, yeah. Otherwise, we can't leave it pending. So a lot of things have happened. And so my attitude has always been extremely philosophical.
So now I will revisit that question. With this background, with all of your experience, what would you define spiritual care as?
Very good. So first of all, let me define spirituality from the health point of view, right? That spirituality is meaning making. Spirituality is transcendence, going beyond. While religion is a structured way, I mean, you do a puja, you go do namaz, you go to a church, you do whatever it's going to be, right? So it's a structured way of doing that. My MSc thesis was on spiritual concerns. So one of the people whom I interviewed, I asked him, what do you understand by religion and spirituality? So he gave me a very profound answer. He said, sir, imagine this room has got windows of different shapes. They are the different religions. But the light that comes through all those windows are the same. And that is spirituality. So being present for the person, being non-judgmental. Now, there are various theories of coping, and one of the things is that all of us have got our idea of life, etc. And as long as things are going on the way we want it, there's no distress. But if there is an upheaval and there is a change, then what you do is either you reboot and say, okay, this was what I wanted, but this is what is now happening. And if you accept that situation, then your distress goes. Like I decided at the age of 3 that I wanted to be a surgeon. I don't know how. And now suddenly you're telling me that you can't hold a knife. But then I realized that no. And I think uh, God has been kind that He chose me as one of the people to establish the palliative care center. And therefore I had and have something to look forward. And I must say one thing, okay, I'm not gone into the stage of vairagya where, I've given up everything. Nothing is so important that I must have it. But I do enjoy the good things of life. I hope you understand, particularly after the interview.
So we've spoken about quite a few things, but there is one thing that uh, I wanted to always ask you about, which is suppose there's anyone out there who says that, okay, I want to build a hospice. I want to take upon this unsurmountable task, and I want to get it going. What would your advice be to them?
Smriti, lots of people have come. Perhaps the universe wants it that way, but none of those guys have listened to my advice. My advice is not a great idea.
But you're saying they haven't listened to you.
They haven't listened to me. Yeah.
That's what he says.
So it's not that I don't
Maybe
want them
that's
to
your
do that.
job. Just
No,
saying that, and then they go ahead and build it anyway.
No. So there are a lot of issues that are there. Uh, you know, uh, as I said, you can find the land, you can find the money to build it. Getting staff to to work there, doctors, etc., is difficult. And if you are having a free model, is one aspect of it, and it's a hard task. And what is very very important, and that's where uh, you know we are also facing, and I don't mind saying this, is that all right? People who started it, three, four of us, a lot of others joined in later, but of course that we're all growing very old. I mean, I'm 72. The chairman is 86, 87. Uh, who after us? Now, when things become very difficult, and my mind sort of gets very perturbed, then I immediately smile at myself and say the universe will take care. But I think that's not a right thing to do. Okay, somebody will come, but then you need to have a bunch of people who will nurse that, right? Uh, uh, but now I think establishing, you don't necessarily have to have an inpatient facility. You can do home care. And the second thing is that I would like people to think about palliative care other than cancer. Government, government policy is to have palliative care centers primarily for cancer. But of course, the national palliative care policy of the government includes other things. So there is an enormous amount of work that needs to be done. And I would encourage people to network, to get together. And I've been telling a lot of these youngsters who are coming out with MDs and DNB, they all want to percolate to teaching institutions. So in fact, at our workshop just 2 days ago, I told these fellows, I said, look, it's all right, you can become a professor, but you need to offer your support and mentorship to smaller palliative care centers, and now you can do that virtually. So my advice would be that you really 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 want to do it, and I will be a wet blanket initially to make sure that you know what you want to do, and we are very happy to support, train, which we have been doing for a long time.
Karunashraya does a lot of training.
Academics, absolutely.
And this is something that happens very often to me. Okay, so I had this intense desire to meet His Holiness, and I tried and I kind of failed. So one day I went and met my cardiologist friend, and his son is an Indian Foreign Service officer. So I asked him, where's Deepak? He said that he's attached to the Dalai Lama. So I said, what is he doing there? So he spent 5 years in China, this boy, and he was in Wuhan and all that stuff. So they wanted to give him a little light posting. So the External Affairs Ministry has a liaison office attached to the Dalai Lama. And this young IFS officer is supposed to look after his needs. So through him, we got an appointment. So my wife, my sister and I, we flew to Delhi. And we caught the flight to, to go to Dalai Lama's place. The flight took off, half an hour, came back and said that weather is bad, can't land. So I had a virtual chat with His Holiness and said, what are you doing? I want to come and see you. 11 and a half hour drive from Delhi to his place. So anyway, the next day we go and we were told that, Deepak, he was the right hand, man, so said, Deepak has given them instruction that we should be sent last. So there's a line of people waiting. Now here's the confession. After, I think, my transplant, I was not like this before. I am emotionally very unstable, or labile, if I might use the word. Smriti, I'll watch the same movie 10 times, 15 times. I know the dialogue. I know exactly what's happening, that scene. And at that point of time, reflexively, I'll start crying. No control. Lots of people, I've gone to weddings and my friends have noticed it, and now I don't care, let people know about it. Anyway, so here I am sitting down, waiting. There are from 50, 60 people, and, everybody's going. And waves are coming, that way. I said, I'm telling myself, hey, hold on, you're meeting the Dalai Lama, you're happy, you're this, you're that, and I'm trying to psych myself. My wife is there, my sister's there, and then we walk to the Dalai Lama, and as I walk and stand in front of him, disaster. I started crying.
Wow.
And, His Holiness just looked at me and, he put his hands out, took my hands, and put it on his forehead like that. God knows what, for 30 seconds by the clock, which is a long time.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's happening. I'm totally dazed. Okay, I go and stand there, tears in my eyes still. My wife goes there, happily smiling. And says, I met you before, so on and so forth. He blesses her, caresses her cheek. And my sister goes, happily smiling. And I think the Dalai Lama's office would have told Deepak, what has happened. But he never mentioned anything to me. Obvious, I had no problem. Then I messaged Deepak after some time and I said, can you check with his guys, Come on, yaar. I mean, I hold his hand and you kiss it or put it on my forehead. But he holds my hand and puts it on his forehead. What does it mean? He said, sorry, Nagesh, nobody can answer that question to you. He's considered to be a living God. Okay. So it's between you and him. And so, I had shared this with Kishore, Gurmeet, and all these people. And it is obvious in all the pictures that I was crying. And there's no doubt about it. So Gurmeet told me, he said, send me the pictures. And then he got this blown up. It's in my room in Karunashraya. And along with that blow up, which they give, with the 3-dimensional thing, they give a keychain also of the same picture.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll just show it for the camera. You can see this. That's him. Yeah.
There's no explanation for these things, but and if you see the other pictures which I have on my laptop, when I started seeing, his secretary is his nephew, sister's son, he kind of was just about to kind of hold me in case I just fell on His Holiness. And I'm telling myself when I'm approaching the Dalai Lama, cool down. No need to get upset. You're seeing him, you wanted to meet him. But I don't care. So anyway, I asked Santosh Chaturvedi, a good friend. I said, Santosh, ye kya baat hai? You're a psychiatrist. So he said, हाँ Nagesh, long-term steroid effect हो सकता है. I really don't know.
But just thank you for sharing this.
I
personal,
just don't
anecdote.
know. I have no explanation. And it happens in the same place, man. Same dialogue. I can recite that dialogue if you want by heart. It's not that it suddenly comes
The
up.
response doesn't change.
So maybe I should check with a few more people. And you know what? Now I realize that A, that I have no control over it. B, I don't care. Let other people see.
Correct.
I'm not, I'm not ashamed or I'm not this and that. But it can be very difficult sometimes.
So we don't see too many people who just walk across and walk over to you and say, "What does living well mean to you?" So that's our famous question.
Yeah, I know you've been asking this question to everybody.
See, it's famous.
It is
Yeah, it's
famous.
well done. Well done.
But I didn't prepare the answer, right?
What I feel about living well is this, that as you go along in life, things become important at different stages. Certain things, like I had a great fancy for expensive watches. When I was in school, I used to use a Montblanc pen because my father used to travel abroad very much. All those things don't hold any value to me right now. It's not important. So I think living well is ability to fulfill the role that you are meant to play in the universe in the best way that you can. Do not have very grandiose expectations of things. Be happy with small things. Many times, they say count your blessings. Many times you really don't realize what is happening, right? And I'd get totally suffocated if I did not have friends and people to talk. I'd be finished. So I think living well is to be able to do all these things, and I am extremely fortunate that I have a wonderful family. Wife has done everything for me, children, family members, friends like you people. So at this point of time, I'm living very well actually.
Great. Thank you very much for having joined us and all the way from Bangalore. And thanks for doing this. It really means a lot to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.